Hello students, welcome to AIMS India online classes. This is a chemistry session. Here we are discussing about the chapter language of chemistry. In this session we are going to discuss about ions and radicals from this language of chemistry. In addition to atoms and molecules, a third type of particles occur in substances. Yes, as we have studied about the atoms and molecules earlier. Along with these atoms and molecules, a third type of particles are also existing in the substances. These particles are called ions. So actually, an atom or a group of atoms carrying an electric charge are called as ions or radicals. What does it mean? Ion means an atom or a group of atoms which is carrying an electric charge, either negative or positive, is called an ion or radical. If it is existing with the single atom and it is carrying some charge, then it is simply called an ion. If it is a group of atoms and carrying some charge, then especially they are called radicals. But both are the group of an atom or group of atoms which are carrying either negative charge or positive charge. They are called ions or radicals. An ion is formed when electrons are removed from or electrons are added to an atom or group of atoms. Yes, when these charged particles are obtained, when these charged particles are formed, when atoms either lose electrons or they gain electrons, then these charged particles are formed. So hence, ions or radicals are formed by the gaining or loss of electrons by the atoms or group of atoms. For example, if you see sodium, we know sodium is having only one electron in its outermost shell and it is ready to lose one electron. When it loses one electron, it forms a positive Na plus ion. So atom with some charge. This charged particle is called now ion. This ion is formed by sodium, hence it is called sodium ion. So this is an ion formed by the loss of one electron. This positive charged particle formed by the loss of electron is called ion. One more example you can see here, chlorine. We know its configuration 2, 8, 7. Chlorine will be ready to gain one more electron. When it gains one electron, it forms a Cl minus charged particle. Because an extra electron is added to chlorine, it becomes a Cl minus. This charged particle formed is called here ion and it is formed by chlorine, so it is called chlorine ion or chloride ion. Okay, this is ion formed by the gain of electrons and here it is ion formed by the loss of electron. This is sodium ion and chlorine ion. Both are ions which are formed either by the gain of electron or loss of electron. Finally, these are charged particles. The charged particles obtained by the atoms or group of atoms either by gain of electrons or loss of electrons are called ions or radicals. Okay, next. When electrons are removed, the resulting ions are called cations. Yes, we told here ions are formed either by losing electrons or by gaining electrons. Based upon this, loss and gain, ions are of two kinds. When electrons are removed or lost by the atoms, then the ions formed, generally they are called positive ions because as the number of electrons decreasing, they form positive ions, positively charged particles. Those positively charged particles are called cations. The ions formed by the loss of electrons by the atoms are called cations. Cations means positively charged particles or positively charged ions which are formed by the loss of electrons, either one or more than one electrons. Okay, for example, the cation is positively charged. If we take example sodium, just now we have seen sodium forms an ion by the loss of an electron. It forms Na plus ion. This Na plus ion is called now cation. Cations are positively charged ions. These are formed by the loss of electrons. When electrons are added, The resulting ion is called anion. So in the opposite way, when elements they gain electrons, when atoms they gain electrons, they attain some negative charge. Then the ions formed by the gaining of either one or more electrons are called as the anions. Negative ions are called anions. They contain negative charge as they have excess electrons. For example, we have seen chlorine, it forms Cl minus ion on gaining one electron. So this ion is called anion. This chloride ion is called anion, where Na plus ion, sodium ion is called cation. Okay. So now let us see based upon these types of ions. Ions or radicals are classified as monovalent, divalent, trivalent, or tetravalent when the number of charges over them is 1, 2, or 3, or 4 respectively. Yes, we told here these cations and anions are formed by either gaining or losing one or more electrons. By the changing of electrons, it is happening. Based upon the number of electrons, either by gaining or losing, the type of ion formed will be dependent. Based upon that, there are different kinds of ions. They are monovalent, divalent, trivalent, or tetravalent. Let us see about this one by one. The ionic charge represents the number of electrons lost or the number of electrons gained. Yes, the charge on the ion, the charge present on the ion represents the number of electrons either gained or lost by an element. For example, if it is having positive charge, then the total positive charge present on the atom represents the total number of electrons lost by it. If it is having negative charge, then the total negative charge represents the total number of electrons gained by that atom in the formation of that ion. Okay. Next, the charge on an ion indicated in the symbol or formula by a superscript number followed by the either positive or negative sign. Yes, the charge of an ion is indicated by the a superscript on its symbol formula, a symbol or formula with a number which represents the number of electrons gained or lost. And along with that number, a symbol is shown a plus or minus, which indicates loss or gain. Okay. If it is shown that number with plus, that represents the loss of electrons. If it is shown with the minus, that represents the gain of electrons. Removing one electron from sodium atom creates sodium ion. Yes, sodium loses one electron so that it forms a sodium ion or Na plus ion. So sodium ion is example of monoatomic ion. Monoatomic means the ion formed by one atom. As we told, these ions or charged particles are also formed by group of atoms. They are specially called radicals. But here sodium, it is singly in the atomic form, it is forming ion. So it is called monoatomic. Mono represents one. Monoatomic means single atom forming here an ion by the loss of one electron. So as it is losing one electron, it is represented with 1. If it is 1, need not to mention, and it is shown along with the 1 plus. Plus represents the loss of electron. As it is gaining positive charge, it means it lost electron. Okay. Now let us see electropositive ions. What does it mean by electropositive ions? The metallic ions formed by the donation or the loss of one or more electrons are called electropositive ions. Electropositive means electrically positive charged particles, nothing but. Simply to say, electrically positive charged particles. When positive charge they will attain when they lose electrons. So, the ions formed by the donation of either one or more electrons are called electropositive ions. These electropositive ions are called cations. For example, if you see H plus means hydrogen lost one electron, Be plus 2, barium lost 2 electrons, Aluminium plus 3, lead plus 4, strontium plus 5. These are all the ions formed by the loss of either one or more than one electrons from them, and hence they are retaining positive charge. So these all are called cations or electropositive ions. So based upon the number of electrons lost, these are classified into different types again. One of them is monovalent electropositive ions. Mono, nothing but single. Monovalent means single valency. Single valency electropositive ions. That means the ions are metallic ions formed by the donation of one electron are called monovalent electropositive ions. Means the positive ions formed by the loss of one electron are called monovalent electropositive ions. For example, if you see here, some ions are mentioned: H plus, Na plus, Rb, rubidium plus, ammonium ion, it is called simply radical also. Ammonium ion, these all are obtained or formed by the loss of one electron in each, if you observe. So the ions are positive ions formed by the loss of one electron or by the donation of one electron are called as monovalent electropositive ions. Next, divalent electropositive ions. What does it mean here? In the name itself, it is there. Di means two, divalence, two valency, two electropositive valence ions. So the definition will be the ions formed by the donation of two electrons are called divalent electropositive ions. So the positive ions formed by the loss of two electrons are called divalent electropositive ions. For example, beryllium plus 2, Mg plus 2, Ca plus 2, strontium plus 2. We observe these all are having positive charge 2. That means they lost 2 electrons. They attained this positive charge by losing 2 electrons in each. So these are called divalent, two valency, electropositive ions. Divalent cations also they can be called. Next, trivalent. Tri means what is that? What does it represent? Tri means 3. Trivalent means trivalent electropositive means the metallic ions are ions which are formed by the donation or loss of 3 electrons are called trivalent electropositive ions. For example, Al plus 3, Fe plus 3, CO plus 3, cobalt plus 3, strontium plus, these all if you observe they attain plus 3 positive charge. This is obtained by the loss of 3 electrons from them each. So these ions are having positive charge 3 are called trivalent electropositive ions. Okay, next. Tetravalency. Tetra means what? We know as it is 4. Tetra means 4. So the electropositive ions formed by the loss of 4 electrons are called tetravalent electropositive ions. So the ions formed by the donation or loss of 4 electrons are called tetravalent electropositive ions. For example, lead plus 4, tin, Sn, stannum it is called, Sn plus 4. These all are positive ions formed by the loss of 4 electrons from each. These are called tetravalent electropositive ions. Okay, next, electronegative ions. When do they get negative charge elements? By the gain of electrons. So, an ion or radical which is formed by the acceptance of electrons is called electronegative ion. These electronegative ions are also called anions. Electropositive ions are called cations. Electronegative ions are called anions. How do these anions are formed? These anions are formed by the acceptance or by gaining of electrons by the atoms or group of atoms. For example, you can see here Cl minus, chlorine, on gaining one electron, it forms a Cl minus ion. So it is one of the anions or electronegative ion. Next, O minus 2, that is also formed. This is also formed by oxygen atom by gaining 2 electrons, and hence it is getting negative charge. So it is called electronegative ion, nitride ion, carbide ion. These ions are formed by the gaining of one or more than one electrons, and hence they are getting negative charge. So these are called electronegative ions, which are also called as anions. Okay, next, monovalent electronegative ions. As we have seen here, it is gaining one electron, it is gaining two electrons, it gained three, it gained four electrons. Based upon the number of electrons gained, these anions are also of different kinds. One of them is a monovalent electronegative ions. It means the anions or the ions formed by the acceptance of only one electron are called as monovalent electronegative ions. For example, chlorine or chlorine ion or chloride ion, Cl minus ion, F minus ion, fluorine ion or fluoride ion also it is called, and OH minus, which is called hydroxyl ion or hydroxide ion, nitrogen oxide, NO minus ion. If you observe, these all are having one unit negative charge. That means they gained one electron or they accepted one electron in the formation of these ions. Hence, these are called monovalent electronegative ions. Next, divalent electronegative ions. So, what we can say definition for this simply the ions or radicals which are formed by the acceptance of two electrons are called divalent electronegative ions. Let us see examples for these: oxide ion, sulfide ion, sulfate radical. If you observe these all, these are having 2 units negative charge. How do they get these 2 units negative charge? By accepting 2 electrons. So these all are ions formed by the acceptance of 2 electrons, and hence they are getting minus 2 negative charge. 2 negative charge. So they are called divalent electronegative ions or divalent anions also they can be called. Next, trivalent electronegative ions. So can we say this definition by observing those all? Tri means 3, electronegative means by gaining of electrons. So the ions or radicals which are formed by the acceptance of 3 electrons are called trivalent electronegative ions. For example, nitride ion, nitrogen on gaining 3 electrons it forms nitride ion. Boride, boron gains 3 electrons and forms boride ion. Phosphate ion, phosphate radical is formed by the acceptance of 3 electrons. So these all are ions and radicals. These are formed by the acceptance of 3 electrons in each. So they are forming 3 units negative charge. These are called trivalent electronegative ions or trivalent electronegative anions also they can be called. Do you know here one interesting point? The size of cation is always smaller than its corresponding atom as it lost electrons. Yes, the size of a cation will be always smaller than the original atom or its corresponding atom as it loses electrons. It lost electrons. For example, if you see the sodium ion or the cation formed by sodium plus ion, its size is smaller than original sodium atom's size because it lost one electron. So size will be decreased. So cations are having smaller size than their original atoms. Always cations will be having smaller size than their original atoms or corresponding to their original atom because these atoms are losing electrons to form these cations. In the same way, the size of anion is always greater than its corresponding atoms as it gained electrons. For example, chlorine. The size of ion formed by chlorine, that is called chloride ion. The size of chloride ion is always greater than chlorine atom size because this chloride ion is formed by the acceptance of electrons. So as the electron is more number of electrons is increased, its size also will be increased. So anions are having greater size and cations are having smaller size than their original atoms respectively. Okay, next. Now, based upon these concepts, let us see some questions. What we have seen till now about different kinds of ions we have seen. Ions means what? The charged particles formed by the atoms or group of atoms either by losing or gaining of one or more electrons. The ions formed by the loss of electrons are called cations. The ions formed by the gain of electrons are called anions. So based upon the number of electrons gaining and losing, these anions and cations are classified into different types again. Monovalent, divalent, trivalent and tetravalent. Okay, based upon these concepts, now let us see some questions and for assessment. See the first one. When electrons are removed, the resulting ion is called. What is ion formed by the loss of electrons? Is it called anion, cation, or both of these, or none of these? What it is called? The ion formed by the removal of electrons from the atoms are called cations. These positive ions are formed are called cations or electropositive ions. For example, sodium loses one electron to form Na plus ion. This is called cation. Okay, next question. Which of the following elements can form trivalent electropositive ion? When an element can form trivalent ion, an element can form trivalent ion when it has three valence electrons. So the element which is having three electrons in its valence shell can lose those three electrons and hence it form trivalent electropositive ion. Let us see the options. Sodium, aluminium, magnesium, hydrogen. See the number of valence electrons in each atom here so that we can understand easily which can form trivalent electropositive ion. See sodium's electronic configuration, it is 2 comma 8 comma 1 because its atomic number is 11. So what ion it can form now, as it is having only one valence electron, it forms Na plus ion by losing that electron. So monovalent electropositive ion is formed by sodium. Let us see next one, aluminium. What is atomic number of aluminium? 13. So can we say configuration? Yes, 2 comma 8 comma 3. So how many valence electrons are there? 3. As it is having 3 valence electrons, in becoming stable, it loses through those 3 electrons and forms Al plus 3 ion, which is also called a trivalent electropositive ion. So aluminium can form trivalent electropositive ion by losing 3 electrons. What about magnesium here? Magnesium atomic number is 12. So what ion it will form? Let us see configuration 2 comma 8 comma 2. So that it is having only 2 valence electrons, it forms divalent electropositive ion, 2 valency. And if you see hydrogen, the configuration of hydrogen is 1 as its atomic number is 1. So it can lose only that one electron and forms a H plus ion, monovalent electropositive. So the only element among these is aluminium, which can form trivalent electropositive ion. Okay, see here in this way, aluminium can lose 3 electrons and forms Al plus 3 ion, which is a trivalent electropositive ion. Okay, next question. Hydrogen can form. What hydrogen can form? Trivalent electropositive ion, electronegative. Divalent electropositive ion, divalent electronegative ion, monovalent electropositive ion. Which ion hydrogen can form? We have seen just now the atomic number of hydrogen is 1 and its configuration also will be 1. So it can lose that one electron so that it forms one positive ion called monovalent electropositive ion. Okay, this ion formed by hydrogen. Next question. Sodium minus electron. What will be formed here? What sodium forms on losing one electron? Will it form two sodium atoms? Will it form Na plus ion or Na minus ion or Na2 plus ion? What will it form sodium? Sodium loses one electron and forms monovalent electropositive sodium ion or Na plus ion is formed because sodium loses one electron. Okay, on losing one electron, sodium forms unipositive cation or monovalent electropositive ion. Next question. Oxygen minus dash gives oxide ions. So here how many electrons are, sorry, it should be plus because oxygen will gain electrons to form negative ion, isn't it? So how many electrons are gained by oxygen to form two oxide ions? See here, how many electrons? Is it 2 or 1, 3 or 4? How many electrons are lost? How many electrons are gained by oxygen? If you see oxygen atomic number 8 and its configuration 2, 6. So to become stable, it requires 2 more electrons. So each oxygen atom gains 2 electrons. So each oxygen atom gains 2 electrons. How many oxygen atoms are there in the molecule totally? 2 oxygen atoms are there. So each oxygen atom gains 2 electrons to form oxide ion, and 2 oxygen atoms totally they gain 4 electrons. By that 2 oxide ions are formed. Okay, totally they gain 4 electrons. Next, fluorine atom gains electrons and forms. What do they form, fluorine atoms? Fluorine gains electrons. Actually, the atomic number of fluorine is 9. If you write its configuration for 9, what do we get? 2, 7. And its valence shell is having 7 electrons. To become stable, fluorine gains 1 electron. So what will it form by gaining 1 electron? F minus ion, F2 minus ion, F plus ion, or F2 plus ion. Which ion is formed by gaining of 1 electron? Yes, by gaining of electrons, elements they form negative ions which are called anions or electronegative ions. So how many electrons are gained, those many negative charges will be appeared on symbol. So as it is gaining only 1 electron, it forms F minus ion. Okay, this is about different ions and radicals. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our YouTube channel AIMS Today for latest updates and recorded videos. Thank you.